Fantasy Premier League seems like just a game, but research shows it affects the mental health of over 9 million players worldwide. The psychological impact is actually fascinating.
That's such an interesting perspective. How did you come across those numbers?
Well, I've been diving into some FPL psychology studies, and what really caught my attention is how the game design itself creates these emotional peaks and valleys. You know, like when your captain blanks while everyone else's hauls.
Hmm. Speaking of emotional valleys, what's the worst FPL experience you've had this season?
Oh man, just this past week was brutal. I captained Holland who blanked completely, while my mini-league rival Salah pick returned 15 points. And to make it worse, all my defenders conceded in what should have been easy clean sheets.
That's the kind of week that really tests your mental game. You know, studies show that FPL managers make 30% more impulsive transfers after a particularly bad game week.
That statistic actually explains so much about the phenomenon we call tilting. Those rage transfers late on Saturday night when emotions are running high and logical thinking goes out the window.
Well, here's what's fascinating. Top 1% managers actually make 40% fewer transfers during bad runs compared to average players. They've learned to control that impulse.
And that ties directly into what might be the most dangerous trap after a bad game week: social media. The data shows that FPL managers who check their scores more than 10 times during games are twice as likely to make knee-jerk transfers.
So, if we're looking at practical strategies, what's your approach to avoiding these emotional pitfalls?
I've developed what I call the 24-hour rule. No transfers, no social media, and no team tinkering for at least 24 hours after a bad game week. The numbers show this simple cooling-off period reduces negative point hits by almost 60%.
That's exactly the kind of concrete strategy people need. And I've noticed elite managers often talk about focusing on process over results.
Right? The process approach is crucial. Looking at the data from last season, managers who stuck to their pre-planned strategies during rough patches outperformed reactive managers by an average of 50 points over the season.
Those numbers really put things in perspective. I think people sometimes forget just how long an FPL season is.
Speaking of perspective, here's a mind-blowing stat. The average winning margin in mini-leagues is just 43 points over 38 game weeks. That means one good double game week can completely change your season.
Well, that explains why maintaining emotional stability is so crucial. The data shows that consistent performers have much lower score volatility.
You know what's really helped me lately? Actually watching the matches instead of just staring at the FPL app. Research indicates managers who watch games make 25% better transfer decisions compared to those who only look at stats.
That's fascinating. Do you think it's because they're seeing things that don't show up in the numbers?
Exactly. Eye test data reveals that underlying statistics miss about 30% of important attacking indicators, like players making runs but not receiving passes, or defenders consistently getting into advanced positions.
So, if we're creating a survival guide for bad game weeks, what are the key takeaways from all this research?
Well, the data points to three main strategies. First, implement a cooling-off period after bad results. Second, focus on process over outcomes. The numbers show this approach leads to 40% better decision-making. And third, maintain perspective by remembering that the average top 10,000 manager has at least 6 game weeks below the overall average.
Those insights really highlight how managing emotions is just as important as managing your team.
And here's the most important statistic of all. FPL managers who report enjoying the game, regardless of results, score an average of 200 points more over a season than those who get too stressed about performance.
That really brings it all full circle. The mental game isn't just about avoiding mistakes, it's about maintaining the fun factor that makes FPL worth playing in the first place.
Exactly right. Remember, everyone, the data shows that your approach to handling setbacks is actually more important than your initial team selection. Stay calm, trust the process, and most importantly, enjoy the game.